I would like to just say a couple words about our AML working group in Crypto Valley. Please sit down. Okay. Please come in.
I can stand.
No, please. Yeah. Nice. So we in Crypto Valley have a lot of working groups, and one of them are very active. It's AML working group, and I think Alexandra is very active member, and Chris is co-chair with me. And also we have Maria here. Maria, will just show yourself. Yes, thank you. And we meet at least once a month, and we discuss a lot of AML topics, and we help each other, because this industry is very difficult, and we never have all answers, even we have regulation. And I'm really excited to manage to moderate the session with my great panelists today, because AI is something which can really help us in the future, but it also will cut off a lot of jobs. And it will improve the quality, and we can do it faster. Just imagine if now your onboarding takes a day, months, maybe it can take seconds. And this is what I would like to suggest as a discussion point. What will be the future? Can we completely avoid human interaction in the future in compliance? And what the role of AI is. And I suggest that we first introduce, you introduce yourself, and then I will ask you exciting questions.
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Michaela Schütz. I'm the Deputy Head of the Swiss FIU, the Money Laundering Reporting Office Switzerland, and I'm heading the International Department.
My name is Chris McAteer. I'm Head of Financial Crime and Digital Compliance at Six Group.
My name is Tarmo. I'm co-founder of ChainAware. We can predict everything when we get your wallet address. See it as in the movie Minority Report. So there versus precox. It's a good predict, and we predict what an owner of address will do as a next. Is it fraud, scam, buying, selling, DeFi, etc. We know everything.
My name is Alexandra Lloyd, and I'm the Head of Anti-Money Laundering at YouHodler.
Great. I think it's a good combination of panelists, so we can really debate a bit. Amro, I will start with you, and I think you work a lot with Web3 projects, and what do you think is the main challenges from regulatory point of view? Do we really see that regulation at the moment is for clients, or it's for the regulator? And how we can improve it using technology like AI? Yes, I ask you.
Okay.
But okay, we start with Alexander. Yeah.
So I think I think it's been designed for a long time, anti-money laundering regulation, and it's having to evolve very quickly with the pace of Web3 and AI.
So my opinion is that we are still a little bit in history. When we take Web 2 versus Web 3, there are big differences. In Web 3, we can't revert transactions first. And second, to set up a structure where I overplay algorithms which are currently used in AML, it will take me not 7 weeks, like in Web 2, it will take me 2 seconds. And this is the situation that we have currently. The Web 3 is kind more complex, and if we ask how to protect now customers, how to protect so the customers don't fill their reports by police statement, etc., and never get their money back, something has to be changed. It's my opinion. Yeah.
I think AI and agentic AI is going to be introducing a lot of very useful tools for the compliance community. But I think that, like everything, is going to need some proper governance, some transparency, and human touch along the way.
Helle, what do you think in terms of MROS? If you don't know what MROS is a regulatory body which control. So we report to MROS all the illicit activity or suspicious activity in Switzerland. And it's great you are with us here. But from regulatory point of view, if you receive the reports from the AI tool, not from the human, how do you see it in the future? Is it possible that regulator or controlling bodies will use technology and accept that technology control the all the transaction and suspicious activities?
Mm-hmm. So, like you said, we received the suspicious activity reports. There's like an FIU in every country, and so we are not the regulators. We just work with the things that come out, with the outcomes. Here I can say is we see the results. So we don't see, has this report been AI driven or was it made manually? Because it's all being handled in by an own system that we have. So, but what we can see is, and there is sometimes with some financial intermediaries a trend that they use some automated report systems. What I have to say here, different to many other countries, we are suspicion-based reporting office. So for us, we should not receive, or we do not receive reports just because they overgo a threshold. With us, the financial intermediary who reports really has to have a suspicion on that. So if it's been AI generated or human-based, for us, it makes no difference, just the result that comes to us, if we can work with it or not.
And then I have a question. How often, for example, you receive reports from Swiss entities, for example?
Yeah, we receive, so last year we received around 17,000 reports. So also for us, I think the workload, the data load and the quantity is something we also have to handle and we struggle with.
I wonder, you need AI, yeah, for this.
No, and that's why we are really reliant on good reports. So whatever the financial intermediary uses beforehand, before sending it to us, we don't see it, we can kind of think what they did, but yeah, we just get the number, the quantity, and then we have to go work with it.
So what I can hear that we don't have any hindrance to start using more tools, and if it's sufficient from your point of view, it's also, you know, for you it's important we report, but the way we do it is technology neutral.
From an FIU point of perspective, yes, because we need to see what did the financial intermediary think of when he did the investigations, and where is the suspicion, because we're working on a crime-based approach, or there needs to be a crime behind it, and also with terrorist financing. It does not help if we receive a report, okay, there is a suspicion, go for it and look after yourself, how you can. So we really depend on that, how they get it. It's up to the financial intermediary.
It's very, very interesting. It is like it has to show that something already happened. But in crypto, my opinion is we have to prevent transactions before something bad is going to happen.
That's the ideal world, also for us, because then we wouldn't receive the reports.
Yes.
Those are the reports we don't receive.
All your reports.
You want to put her out of a job?
So we receive the reports when the transaction happened, or when somebody tried to open an account and they refused to open it. So those are the two possibilities. But in general, we don't receive reports and say we did everything right.
Because if you take our technology, we can say this address with this probability is going to do as next whatever. Yeah. We can say he's going to do scam or fraud or rug pull or good stuff. And the issue is we do transactions, and then after transactions, oh, something bad happened. It's too late. And we have to stop it before it happens. And the issue is not just that we have compliance and regulators, it's about users. If new buyers come to the sector and they face this kind of engineered fraud, they leave the sector. And then we are surprised why crypto is not growing. It's not growing because we don't offer protection mechanism to customers. I'm not talking about financial intermediaries. I'm talking about customers.
Well, I absolutely agree with what you say. The prevention is the best thing, that it has to be stopped before. But like I say, I think that's an ideal world. It's never going to happen that there's no fraudulent payment or no criminal payment. But then it's our job when it's being detected that we go after it.
And what do you do? You saw something bad happen. What do you do afterwards?
Well, that would be a very long discussion. I think we only have 40 minutes. Sure.
I think we focus on the preventing and recording the not right behavior, and then it will be maybe, you have a seminar, right? You have a workshop with us.
We have the crypto symposium in November, just to
and we can go into more details in another session. But because now we have a statement that we can prevent future transactions, Alexandra and Chris, it's a question to you. You have quite big organizations where you have to report a lot of list activity, where you see the challenges to implement, or if you're already implementing something like this?
Well, one thing's certain at SIX, because we are systemically important, we have a duty to take a look at it, but we also have to be very careful when we roll out new technology. We have very robust testing systems, governance around any kind of software or any kind of new processes or procedures that we would implement. So of course we're looking at AI agents, we're really interested in it. Everybody's very excited about the possibilities of improving transaction monitoring, of facilitating onboarding and all these different elements. But I think we are also at the same time, as we're looking at what can we do with agents, we're also looking at what does good governance look like? How does governance have to change? How do we ensure that whatever model, be it, let's say an agent, how do we make sure that the agent is very clearly explainable and that the compliance user can understand the logic of the decision that was given, rendered, and so can a regulator or an auditor. So we are considering all the different aspects of rolling out. But essentially, where we see the biggest use case is certainly in a bit the middleware layer, because we have embedded quite a few different SaaS softwares. I think just myself on the crypto side, to process a transaction, we can use anywhere up to 8 different SaaS tools. And some of them speak to each other, some of them have API connections between themselves and they are aggregated, but otherwise sometimes the data points are siloed. So having sort of an agent come on top of that and aggregate and create a narrative for the compliance officer to then execute or make a decision a little bit easier is definitely something that we're excited about and we're looking into. But also at the sort of more micro level, just getting the team to think about how to use AI on a day-to-day basis to make their jobs easier. That doesn't have to be like a big sledgehammer. It could be just a little knife. For example, we know that the first line has not a hard time, but doesn't always give us the best quality documentation for onboarding. So putting together an FAQ based on the repeated questions can help them, better understand the work that they have to do. So just getting our team to think about where can I use AI effectively without having to roll out a whole system is another option that we're exploring as well.
Chris, may I ask a question? Now, how important is for you to explain why a transaction is bad or why you reject?
It's central. You cannot roll out a system that you don't understand how it got to that answer.
And what do you do if you can't answer it?
You can't use the system. With the way that the regulations are set up, with the way that people expect to be treated, with the AI Act, and with data privacy law, humans have a right to understand how a decision was made if it's been automated. And also, just from an internal point of view, you wouldn't take on a new employee who can't tell you any of the thought process that went into their decision making to blocking a customer's account or freezing their funds. If you're treating an agentic AI as your new employee, you have to have that explainability, that XAI built in. You can use systems for feedback if there wasn't, but you definitely couldn't use it to make the ultimate decision. I mean, many of us are operating, it's not the AI use is novel in compliance or AML in financial industry or crypto. Many of us have already been using pattern recognition AI or AI to detect deepfake imagery, AI in validating documents, AI in transaction monitoring, or just plain automation. So it's not the use of AI is novel, the use of agentic AI, which can make decisions based on aggregating that data. It's really crucial to have explainability, at least, especially when you're operating in the Swiss environment and the EU environment. And most of us are.
We see a really good example of that already in practice when we think about blockchain analytics. We may not understand the proprietary algorithms in detail of Chainalysis and Elliptic and TRM, but we do know that if they come up with a risk, we have to be able to say that we played a role in generating that risk. So that means that we've worked with that company, we've gone through the risk different elements, we've reflected our own risk appetite as an institution into the model to be able to say, okay, if you're getting exposure to human trafficking, or if you're getting exposure to casinos, we want this result. So when we get a 98% or a very high risk for a particular address, we have a sense of where it's going and we can explain it, even though we don't understand all the intimate details of how the algo works. And it's the same thing with agentic AI. We have to be able to say, okay, it's detected suspicion in this onboarding. What's the reason? Do I agree with it or not?
Yeah, my impression by agentic AI is that we require from agentic AI more than from traditional banking platforms that we have in Switzerland. Is it from UBS, Finova, MROS, or Avaloq, or smaller ones? Reality is that in these huge banking platforms, if somebody asks how the transaction is processed, answer is, we don't know. And now when we take AI, then from AI we suddenly require that AI has to be explainable. But in our legacy banking platforms, which is the base for all Switzerland to explain a transaction processed, we don't know. And here I see it like we set too high requirements or too high restrictions for new technologies. And we don't consider our legacy banking platforms.
I would say that, and Michaela can correct me if I'm wrong here, but if I was working not at a crypto platform and at a bank, and as the head of anti-money laundering, I could not explain to her or anyone at FINMA or MROS how the system worked, I would be in quite a bit of trouble and probably facing some hefty fines.
Welcome in the club.
But I do think that it's the advantage of AI, and this is something that's being built in, is that much the same way when I was still working as a designer, I put pockets in every piece of clothing I designed to increase the utility. You can design the AI with explainability in mind. Like, it's mathematical proofs. It's not necessarily, I mean, obviously, at a certain point, it has to be translated into human, but it's just asking the AI to leave an audit trail of its decision-making. And if you are a RegTech provider building an AI, that should be a fundamental design, like, framework of your design. That is something that is going to be requested of you because, A, there's still a high level of distrust in AI. We do hear about, Bank of America being fined millions for their anti-fraud detection system, falsely alerting and freezing the bank accounts of many customers. Like, that this is not some sort of far-off scenario. Even just using the LLMs, we hear of false positives, hallucinations. So there's an element that it's irresponsible to leap into such a new technology without having that. We can't go into it trustless at this point in time. We need to know that there is biases being trained into AI there. So, and these can be magnified with algorithmic, with increase of those original biases. We need, without knowing the training data, because we can't ask that of our providers, we need to at least be able to follow the decisions, unless you're developing it in-house, which I would say is not going to be the practical and efficient model. Many of us are relying on more and more service providers, and it makes sense because they're specialists.
And here, maybe when you talk that it's better to have a decision which is like you can just implement, which is already existing, not create from scratch your own. Here, I have the question about data transfer and ethic of the, you know, because you could, the other the program and the platform collect your data. How about it? How you will solve this situation with privacy? And it's a question for all of you. Yeah.
Privacy in blockchain is very simple. You are anonymous. When you are anonymous and data is public, all this legislation don't apply. It's
so what you're saying, we don't have any issue with the data transfer?
When data is public data, you can calculate, you can do, you can...
But we're talking about Web3, right?
Yes, in
and
Web3 data
in our real world, how we can manage it with, you know, like 6 accepting payments or YouHodler accepting payments, which are just, they need to know the transaction, and it's still Web 2 environment. Is it still possible or to use AI in these regards?
Absolutely. It is, you need a different legal entity who is doing calculations, and then it's all legal.
Yeah, maybe I would like to a bit turn our discussion to the way of efficiency. We are in Switzerland. Let's talk a bit about of Swiss way to doing crypto business and compliance. Do we really report enough in Switzerland this illicit activity, or we are, how is about other countries where we are in this global landscape?
Yeah, we had this pre-discussion. It was a hot discussion. Well, some of you might have read it. There is this national risk assessment on crypto. We did an analysis on the Swiss market, and based on like the numbers, we have quite a lot of VASPs in Switzerland. I think we agree on that. And based on the numbers compared to our, let's say, neighbor countries, the number is quite low. Why? We don't know. There might be several explanations. I don't want to just say this is the right one and this is the wrong one. Like what I just maybe want to come back and break it down, maybe also for a non-IT specialist, the discussion that you had before. For me, this AI-based information gathering and everything, when you're a compliance officer in a bank, correct me if I'm wrong, you got an information package, you got a OSINT research, an open source intelligence research, you got newspaper articles, and then you get many more things. And this may be one of those things, but then in the end, there's some professional judgment that says, okay, we report, we do not report. For the moment, I would say so that's for the most of us. If there's anyone in the room who doesn't do it, I'm very interested to talk afterwards. But that was something that interests me a lot, to breaking it down a little bit to a very basic level. Or in the end, there has to be someone who says, press the button, this is going to be reported over a system that works for everyone. So that was just why I was very curious about that information. Concerning the reporting in quantity, what I can say is we received around 250 reports, which is based to around 17,000, quite a low number. The number, I just took it out today from the system, is not appearing to be much higher by the end of this year, unless something's gonna change. But what we see is, like, only VASPs-related reporting, but what we see is the number of reports that include cryptocurrency payments. They go out quite a lot. So there we had over 1,000. And that's what we see in the neighboring countries, and those who also have VASP in a similar setup, they have quite a lot of a high number. And it doesn't mean, that's what I also want to say, it's not that it's a bad place only because a lot of reports arrive at an FIU. This is also, it has to be made clear. And another thing, what I heard before, I just want to say it, if an account is being reported, it's not being blocked. That might be because I heard it, and not that anyone goes out of here and thinks as soon as a report is, a bank account is being reported to the FIU, it's being blocked. No, it's not, because otherwise it will be a tipping off. Then if that's, yeah.
One of the elements that we discussed, in the preparation for this panel was exactly this topic, and I was just telling Michaela that I really appreciate that we can have this discussion, because this is something that context matters and details matter. I think if you look at the surface and you say, why are Swiss VASPs reporting or not reporting? It may be easy to look at neighboring countries and sort of make a comparison, but the reality is that we've had a framework for crypto for quite some time. So we all know, or anybody in the compliance space would know, that the FATF came out with definitions in 2018. They came out with guidance in 2019. FINMA adopted that guidance in its own guidance quite a few months later. So basically, as of August 2019, VASPs within Switzerland had the obligation very clearly to implement quite a few control mechanisms within the compliance space. And the enforcement of that came not much later, about a year later. If you wanted to apply for membership at an SRO, you had to be able to demonstrate compliance with FINMA's guidance for VASPs, specifically as it relates to transaction monitoring. So, for example, you had to be able to showcase that you had a system in place for the travel rule, and that you were able to identify private wallets, and that you were doing due diligence on private wallets. And this is quite some time ago already. In 2020, we've been talking about this. We've been implementing all of these elements. And this is very relevant because you're doing this due diligence at the front end. You're doing it ex ante. You're really taking a look at the transactions. You're whitelisting the addresses. You're doing a risk assessment of the address even before you make the transfer. Even before you make the transfer, you're also transmitting the information via travel rule to the counterparty who's doing their assessment, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of the bulk of due diligence happens even before the transaction takes place. And then, just let me finish.
Yeah.
So then, once that's done, then you can have more certainty that you are not going to engage in risky business. But the converse situation has happened in our neighboring countries, where a lot of VASPs have had maybe some compliance processes and procedures in place for onboarding. They've been doing transaction monitoring ex post, but they haven't done the bulk of the transaction or the compliance due diligence before the transaction takes place. And this is why we have within our VASPs, for the large part, I'm not saying it's a perfect system, but generally speaking, our VASPs, our systems, our services are very robust from a compliance perspective. And this is what we've also been trying to convey globally when we try to attract new business to Switzerland. Yes, we have a regulatory hurdle that's higher than other jurisdictions. So at the first glance, it may seem like it's a deterrent, but actually we've been able to create an environment that's quite robust, and where investors can be certain that the infrastructure is sound. Sorry.
This is beautiful what you say, that by prevention, we do it before it happens. And this is what cleans up the crypto ecosystem, that we can protect the end users. So we have to check transactions before they happen and not afterwards. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Well, if I can just add here, the thing is not about that. I think that there's a little bit of misunderstanding that you think if the VASP would report more, they would be worse than they are now. I think that's not the point, because also banks, they also do their job, but still the number of reports is rising. I think as Switzerland is very neutral when it comes to technology, or they all follow the same rules, and as Switzerland is part of the whole global network, the risk is still there because the payments come in and out from outside. And even if you have countries where the standard may not be high and it comes in, then we have the same risk imported or then exported. So I think this should be just kept in mind, and this is something we just take a look at when we look at why are numbers lower, higher, or raising or not raising.
Yeah,
I
agreed.
I think we also have to bear in mind that obviously we're talking from a crypto mindset as we are at this conference here in the Crypto Valley conference, but actually, and I've seen this in a lot of rooms with talking with compliance professionals in the space, a lot of the actual suspicious activity is no longer or not or happening on chain, at least for the centralized VASPs and CASPs dealing with fiat currency. I would say a large proportion, and at least from the discussions, is happening in traditional finance, in stolen card details, in card details scraped off the internet and sold on dark marketplaces. It's actually happening. You have a transaction that's fully 3-factor authenticated, by all means comes from the bank, has been okayed, and then later you get a chargeback. You receive a chargeback from the bank instead of a fraud claim, which is slightly incorrect filing, but this is happening more and more, or you see just traditional scams that are happening on the before it's even come on chain.
Yeah.
And so the use of agentic AI, while it's great that we can use platforms like yours to examine behavior on chain and wallets on chain, the use of agentic AI is really powerful when it comes to looking at onboarding profiles, scanning for how old the addresses of the email addresses are, have they been made in the same day as the account, and this sort of profiling, because this off-chain behavior, which is the point at which in many cases the scam is actually taking place, we have no visibility on. The power of blockchain is that we have chain analysis, we have Elliptic, we have TRM, we have ChainAware. We can see which addresses have been sort of marked as tainted. We have started coming together as a community to kind of share this information in a way, and the advantage of blockchain is that we can do it in a semi-anonymized way where just the wallets are shared. When the European Data Protection Authority now saying that wallet addresses themselves are PII will make that more interesting, but
so what I can hear, we do use AI, agentic AI, but we do it fragmentally. We use it fragmentally at the moment, so it can be onboarding, it's classical standard onboarding, it can be for transaction monitoring somehow, or even for reporting. Maybe in the future we can just press a button and we don't need to do all this paperwork because it just go automatically to MROS, for example. The question is, starting from today, let's say next 2-3 years or 5 years, how you see the developments, where we will see the most changes, and how it will influence what type of the employees we have to, what type of professionals we have to have in the organization. Maybe a couple advice to our audience, where to look for, what we should expect and where we need to focus in next, let's say 2-3 years. Knowing that there is an AI revolution going on. And because we have only 4 minutes left, I suggest each of you just give a bit of summary, your advice to how we should use the technology in the future, and where we see the risk or advantage.
I'll go first. So I think the answer is that I hope in the next few years, we've talked about the fragmented systems. The power of agentic AI is that it can combine these predictive AI models, these validation models, these large language models to generate requests, and that we should see the systems get less fragmented, hopefully, while still retaining some level of explainability, so that when I'm sending a report to Michaela about my suspicion, that I can actually outline to her what my suspicion actually is. But the key for this is going to have to be standardization. We need to have there's severe ethical implications in handling people's data and blocking their financial access and in using this. So we need to come together as an industry with ethical experts, legal experts, engineers, architects, all the stakeholders we can manage to really start building frameworks, especially because at this stage we've already experienced the chaos of different regulations, just even in the AML and crypto space. It's only going to get more complex as we start introducing different regulations in the AI space. So we really need to, at this moment where we're at the sort of inception baby stage, even though it's actually been going on for 20, 30 years at this point, we really need to come together as an industry, or as multiple industries even, to discuss, okay, where is it appropriate to use AI? Where is it inappropriate? Where can automation be used instead? AI has a much higher cost.
We are here to discuss as industry. Yeah, I don't think we should create new association just focus on AI.
CBA can lead the way.
Yes, we can handle it. Please.
For Swiss financial platform, all Swiss financial platform, the sooner we start using AI agents for compliance, which integrates all these different information sources, the stronger our financial platform gets. It can become a competitive advantage for the Swiss financial platform, so let's do it.
I would say that we can't ignore it. It's here, and we need to adopt it. But I would encourage, especially the larger regulated institutions, to consider the various options that are available in terms of types of AI solutions. You don't have to use an agent. You can really use some of the more easily accessible solutions just to make the life of the compliance officer that much easier, and especially the life of our first line of defense and sales teams that much more efficient, and maybe switch compliance eventually, and hopefully step by step from a cost center into a business promotion and value adding center.
Yeah, so for us, as I said at the beginning, we rely on the quality of the reports that come in. So whatever good work is being done before, no matter how, is good for us. So we are also looking forward to the improvements and the developments and whatever's coming up here. But the last hires we had is data analysts, just to say, because you said, what do we have to look for? Also for us, it's getting more and more.
Yeah. Great. So you have open job positions probably now. Yeah?
Yes, but not for data analysts at the moment.
Okay. Okay.
They're filled.
Daniela, Chris, Tamro, Alexander, thank you so much. I think we have 13 seconds left. If anyone have questions to us, we are open. Please. Who would like to answer?
Why don't we meet for coffee afterwards? Sounds good.
Okay. Thank you so much, everyone.